Getting the other crew in. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you on this wonderful morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Leadership Nuggets Tuesday. It is Leadership Nuggets with Mary May, leadership strategist, where we come to you every single Tuesday to talk about how it is that you can level up in your career, how you can identify what may be holding you back, what's in the roadblock, what are your barriers, as well as being able to set intentions on how you can come from behind the curtain, pull that curtain that you've been peeking and hiding around, and be able to identify how it is that you can have your presence in the room in a different way, that's going to have you feeling elevated, not overlooked, not dismissed, and definitely promoted and living in growth. So each and every Tuesday morning, we come to you with a strategy, a nugget, a conversation of what leaders are encountering on a day-to-day basis, or what some of the challenges that we can do together. So before we make any decision in this early hour, before you head out for your commute, head out to, be the leader that you are, and striving in the space that you are, we have our chat from 7:30 to 8 each and every Tuesday morning. And I say, before making any decision, make sure you have your cup of tea, your coffee, or whatever your morning vice is, and let's chat. So let me get a sip of this coffee. And the leadership strategist nuggets that I provide, I have created a program utilizing the metaphor of a GPS. So the GPS helps you identify with clarity and stand in authority of what your goals are. You are able to position and plan yourself for what it is that you want to stay focused on and dive into once you have that clear strategy of those goals from the G. And then most importantly, being able to activate and lead with conviction on how it is that you will want to show up in your workspace, understand what some of the roadblocks are that are maybe sometimes self-imposed, sometimes carried from a previous situation, and you're allowing yourself to replay the tape or replay the experience over and over again. So before we dive in, I definitely want to give a shout out to it being November the 1st. October came in, snuck in. It's like, okay, I'm here. I'm giving you all of this weather change, transformation stuff that's going on. But now we are officially 42 days to closing out the business year. And so November is here. Whatever challenges that you had yesterday, turn them into today's achievements. And make sure that you don't get stuck or you don't get into the roadblock of what could be focused on. What could be a strategy? What did you learn from what it was that tomorrow yielded for you? And so just keep in mind that it is 42 days of the business year remaining. And so I'm going to dive into these nuggets. And if joining in live or on the replay, and this conversation is serving not only you, but somebody that you think can benefit from that, feel free to share. Feel free to comment. I'll come back and I'll share some love to your comment and resources. But definitely appreciate engagement and appreciate your being here, because you could have been anywhere in your morning scroll and you chose to stop by to chat. So I appreciate that. So our focus nugget for today is your strategy of your why. The strategy of your why. What motivates you in leveling up, in doing what it is that you do, rolling out of that bed, hitting that snooze button, moving forward? What motivates you? And then at the same time, what are some of those things that block you from the motivators that you value on a day-to-day basis or on a month-to-month basis? When you set your goals, when you set your intentions, what are your motivators that can also be the blockers? And then we're going to talk about transforming them into action. Of course, it might take some 2 millimeter shifts of what you understand and understand on how it is that you show up. It might take some looking at your role as a leader and your capacity building. Do you need to delegate? Do you need to have a trust meter that allows you to, kind of activate moving forward? And what is your relationship and dance between like breaking that glass ceiling? Like, how is it that your strategy and your understanding of your why and what motivates your why, how is that supporting your growth overall? And so when you think about you as a leader, you're the catalyst. You are the caveat to ensuring what it is that not only you will evolve into, but those who experience you, how will they grow? What will they take away from the experience of just simply having a conversation with you, but then also learning and leading from your direction? So, how is it that they can move forward and understanding how it is that they exist? And so, Bell Hooks has a quote of that talks about like this that helps us understand and guide this conversation on how it is that we transform our whys and how we transform what motivates us. And it simply says, what we can't imagine can't come into being. What we can't imagine cannot come into being. So, if your imagination, your intention, your conviction of how it is that you show up in your day to day leadership, your day to day voice, your strategies, your problem solving skills, your get the job done, operations of what it is that you do, are you intentional in your transformation? And do you give yourself permission to give breathing room to how it is that you're going to grow, how you're going to pour into the project that you're working on, and how can you explore what it is that you imagine with conviction and knowing that it can be, knowing that it can exist, knowing that all things are possible with the right strategy. And it might take a 2 millimeter, shift. But if you're imagining it, then the roadblocks that come before you will only be in the foundation of understanding how it is that you can definitely imagine into implementation, imagine into conviction, imagine into understanding how it is that you level up in your career unapologetically, but not being fearful on what that transformation actually looks like and what that transformation actually feels like. Because sometimes growing and elevating doesn't feel comfortable. Sometimes growing and elevating is actually you need to do it scared. You need to be, unapologetically, looking at what your commitment is to this growth meter. Because if you can't imagine the shift of their life from where it is that you have been into who it is that you want to be, like that shift into being, you have to begin to look at what is the foundation of my why? What is it that I value the most in regards to the strategies that I make for myself and I put in place for myself that is going to help me not only be the leader in this season, but be the leader in the season of understanding how it is that I can grow and know how to implement, execute, and activate my ideas unapologetically, knowing that it's not only going to transform the project, it's going to transform the voice of the project, it's going to transform the life of what it can do and provide for the organization. So, your strategy and your value system as your foundation, what is it that motivates you? And when you develop that permission to look at that, you also develop marking a starting point. Because if you don't have a starting point, again, on imagining what can't come into being, then you don't know where it is that you're going to end up. Because all of these outside external forces around you will have more influence on where it is that you start. And so as you're going to develop to live life on your own terms, you have multiple distractions. So most of the times when people say what their why is, I am doing this because of my children. I am doing this because of my family. I am doing this because of, because of. And when you think about what it is that you're doing things because of, when it's the children, and say the children detour and don't align and don't follow with what it is that you have put so much hard work into, that foundation becomes unstable. When your partner is not actually doing what it is that you expected them to do, you don't initially look at how you communicated it, how you included them in the conversation, but you look at, okay, but I was doing all of this so that we can. But did you include them in the conversation such that in the foundation and them being your motivator, that it was the true authentic motivator? And so the thing that can be disrupted or looked at when you look at your foundation is that the reason why you find value in doing certain things is that you may think that it's a personal reason. You may think that it's something professional. You might definitely have a why that's connected to your family or lived experiences. Now, the lived experiences is generally like where you are positioned in your career, where you are positioned in your social makeup. Do you have unspoken obligations that commit you to doing certain things in the transformation as you become a leader for people that kind of direct your path, and it becomes your foundation of your why and becomes the reason why you get up every day, or the reason why? As long as your why is external, it can be easily disrupted, it can be easily interrupted, it can easily become a distraction. And we have talked about how distractions are feeding our deficiency, or people are distracting us from our goals so that they can keep us at the level that they are comfortable with us being. Because if we continue to elevate, we're going to leave some people behind. And as you leave people behind, they're losing something. So if they're losing something, then they're going to create a way to unravel, disrupt, not really being clear on what it is that you imagine coming into being and what you trust and know in your skill set and having the ability to do. Like, you are going to give power to all those things external to you. And your fear of success, or your ability to trust how you will look like on this other side of being promoted, being elevated, being independent of those external factors, is a game changer. Because if you have the external factors always driving and always influencing how you make a decision or the reason why you're doing something, then you, in relationship to how it is that you choose to stand and how you choose to influence your being, the metamorphosis, the change for you, the transformation is in the work. So, as a person in who's evolving, developing, wanting to stand in your lane of genius of how it is that you are a leader, you have to understand your purpose. You have to understand why is whatever you're working on extremely important to you. And not only do those external factors, be it personal, professional, family, whatever, believe in you, but do you trust the success that you are owed on the other side? Do you trust and understand the love that you have for the purpose and the intentions of the work that you want to do? Do you give yourself permission to kind of unlock what that level is and stop moving around wearing a mask and saying, okay, I can only elevate myself this far, because if I go beyond that, then so and so is going to be uncomfortable, or I might encounter a glass ceiling, or I might encounter some level of limitation. And the limitation is really the challenge of you. How committed are you to being and loving in this space of leadership and understanding your purpose, knowing that the transformation, the metamorphosis of you, the success meter, the trust meter, all these things on the other side, someone is waiting for your elevation. Because not only is your rites of passage that you have gone through to get to this level is important for you, you have to move from your emotions and overthinking and saying, okay, well, maybe I don't deserve this because excuse me, it's too hard or it's too difficult. Hard is the option of the easy. If you think that it's too hard, then you don't value what it is that's motivating you in your foundation. The things in your foundation, if they're able to keep pulling you backwards, then you are giving more honor to the things that don't serve you than the things that you have the way of like really focusing this in a different way. So who you are as a relational being, have to look at what are the ways in which those external things you can't control. Yes, your why can have influence. Yes, your why can benefit those personal, family, lived experiences, professional, but you have to know from the inner use of self, the inner dialogue that you have with yourself, to give yourself permission to unlock your own transformation. And once you do that, you will move away from fear. You will move away from feeling vulnerable and attacked. You will move away from not functioning with integrity, because as long as you show up with the doubts or the concern of what external factors have more influence, then you're not functioning in integrity. You're actually wearing a mask, trying to ensure that the mask is put on correctly, that your corporate costume shows you that you are qualified. But the integrity is you trusting yourself, you trusting your meter in regards to discover your purpose of being. Remember the quote, we cannot imagine what we can't imagine cannot come into being. What we can't imagine can't come into being. So until you choose to do that 2 millimeter shift to discover yourself and discover your why and discover your purpose, being unapologetically in that, you will not truly authentically experience the breakthrough that your imagination and the beauty of what it has as far as in its purpose. So in its purpose, the the thing is that you have to realize what is your timeline and how is it that you flow from one space and time to the next space and time. I'm glad that I was able to serve you, my 1854 brother. Thank you so very much. Thanks for joining in this morning. Thank you for your comments. So thinking about where you are today, do you know what's stopping you from moving? Do you know what is making you vulnerable? Do you understand where your blind spots are? Are you choosing? Now, this one might sting, but are you choosing, great morning queen? Are you choosing to live in chronic sacrifice? Are you choosing to live in chronic sacrifice? What does she mean by that? Chronic sacrifice. Are you choosing that your why, the things that motivate you, to always be external? Yes, I'm not saying that if you are a parent, then your goal shouldn't be to create a better life for your child or for your family or for anything like that. But what I want to challenge you is that when that unravels and when they're not in alignment with you staying at those long hours at work and you working extra hard on a certain situation, it becomes disruptive. And what becomes disruptive becomes distracting. And what becomes distracting is serving the lower version of you, because you're trying to move up the ladder and they're trying to keep you at the same step that you've been, because the foundation is that they have to prevent you from going up in a different way. Or they say, okay, well, I know you said we was going to go to XYZ, but how about we go left instead of right? And you say, well, let me consider that. You're out of integrity. You're out of integrity with your assignment, because if you clearly knew that you were supposed to stay straight, not turn left and right, and you allow to be unraveled with this perspective versus reality, then your inner conversation has more influence over how it is that you make those 2 millimeter shifts and how you understand the complexity of the work in which you are trying to do. So you have to actually have that clarity that from that infusing of the GPS that helps you confront what your current day-to-day experiences are, what your current vulnerabilities are, what your blind spots are, that because you're in it and because you live in it on a day-to-day basis, you're not able to remove the blinders because you're just going through the motions and doing what you've been doing. You going through the motions and doing what has worked for you, so you think what you believe is managing and helping you to level up. But those environmental influencers is keeping you at doing what's expected and not opening up your permission slip to say, okay, let me level up. Let me live at a different level. And one of the key reasons why this may happen is that perfection paralysis. You're wanting to have what it is that you want to do to be perfect. And you're like, okay, well, I want it to be perfect. I want the outcomes to be, just so and such that it's going to elevate me unapologetically. But that perfection paralysis gives you that limitation of the inner conversation in you that's entertaining these external factors to block your metamorphosis, to block your transformation, to block your ability to truly, truly, authentically using your integrity, removing the mask, and just really with intention being able to move forward. Because if you have two things to do, is that you could start and prove that you're not perfect, which I wish perfect was not in a dictionary. Um, or you could just simply not start whatever your level up expectation is, because that perfection paralysis has more influence, more choices, more concerns, more touch to guiding your GPS, that you have gotten accustomed to having false starts. You have gotten accustomed to not allowing that inner conversation be your metamorphosis to kind of level you up. You have gotten accustomed to not really functioning from a space of clarity and looking at what it is you imagine coming into being. And that the distractions have definitely more permission than you have written on your permission slip that I offered to you in the beginning of this conversation. And so when you think about what are you clear on, what do you need support with, how is it that you are stepping into your authority? How are you stepping into the mind shift of having that strategy with execution, with recognizing that the inner conversation is generally not only serving you, but you're being loyal to those other motivators that are not there for the gain of you leveling up, but they're there to kind of keep you at a standstill and you doing just what's expected because you're frustrated, just doing what's expected because you're distracted. So when you are able to move from behind the curtain and make that mind shift, that inner conversation that you have becomes the clarity moment where you get to the place of securing that promotion, securing that level up. You're functioning in every action, every activity, every thought process with integrity, that there's no more mask, there's no more curtain that you got to pull, that you are now in alignment. But that takes the metamorphosis of the work and understanding that in order to get to intention, you have to confront the complexity. And the complexity is that there is an intersectionality, there is an intersection between personal and business, that there is an intersection between the old way of thinking and when you're shifting into the new way of thinking. But when you're looking at what motivates you into your why and what helps you understand what it is you need to do, that definite secure alignment, that secure attachment, that secure trust meter, it takes work. And as you go into the work, you have to be prepared and armored up with what's going to pull you back. Because remember, when we start out your day-to-day basis, you're thinking about why are you vulnerable? Where are these roadblocks? How are they, giving you blind spots? And it goes into that hashtag that I often refer to as that daily divorce of self, because that inner dialogue is really your brain trying to rewire you into what you have done. And you're like, no, I think it's time for me to level up. I think it's time for me to really live life in a different aspect, and to look at this strategy of how I can rename what my motivators are. I can look at what my brain is actually telling me, because your brain will have a tap dance and distract you unapologetically into not moving, into being paralyzed, into, letting these external factors drive your success, but they end up driving you into burnout. They end up driving you into not being able to trust your decisions. They end up grinding you into that perfection paralysis where you just simply cannot start. Every single time that you go to get started, that intersection of all the things coming at you begin to have you with the lizard brain looking side to side, side to side. Which decision should I go? You should go straight. You should be in conviction of your ideas, conviction of your choices, conviction of what's going to serve you in your strategy as a leader, that you're going to go straight. You're not going to doubt. You're not going to allow the distractions. You're going to go straight. You're going to have a conversation that breaks up with this perfection paralysis of thinking that you have to know the outcome when you start. You can have a desired outcome when you start, but the absolute outcome, you learn from it not coming the way that you wanted it to be. So that's that, the world says we have to know the outcome. But the reality is you can have an intended outcome, but the desire and a desired outcome, but the reality of where it is that you stand, you have to be able to let go of the perfection analysis and be able to start and prove that you're not perfect, and understand that if you don't start, you end up staying in that same current reality of being vulnerable and not making the execution of the choices that is going to help you break through. And so when you do that, you have the strategic leadership and understanding how it is that you can move forward and pulling back that curtain, and how it is that you can not only pull back that curtain unapologetically, but that when you win, the people who experience you and are around you also win. So it's like no need to be selfish, no need to hold back, but just realign and name what motivates you in a different way, so that you can unapologetically understand how it is that you're going to level up, and understand how you're going to break through into being when you discover what that inner dialogue that has been serving you, distracting you, as well as trying to motivate you. Like, it keeps peeking out and intentioning to do something different, but that perfection paralysis keeps you where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to stay where I'm at. I'm not going to level up. But it's like, okay, when we're going to get to the bootstraps and authentically like pull back that curtain and say, I'm not holding back. Because when you win, anybody who experiences you win as well. Yes, it might be something different. Yes, it might be something foreign to them. But when you win, when you make that decision to do something different unapologetically, your high thinking status, your strategies help you to understand how it is that you can sustain your leadership, how you can make that change, how you can shift that 2 millimeters into making sure that you can pull back your curtain with success, but discover how the contrast, or how you can no longer, how you can transform your being into not moving from imagination into your transformation, moving from imagination into activating how it is that you want to be. That all takes work, and that work is not easy. So it's like, if it's not easy and you've been trying to do it for some time, how is it that you can pull back that curtain, begin to imagine what cannot come into being, and understand that the intersection of who it is you are, how it is that you stand, can only come into being when you choose to do the work. And wouldn't it be best to do the work where you can infuse the GPS, understanding the clarity that it gives you, the permission that it gives you, it positions you with authority and conviction, and gives you the strategy that not only you could do independently, but you will have side by side support and ensuring that those roadblocks that have motivated you before have not blocked you any further. So that's my nugget for today. Guided by understanding your why, understanding your motivators, what is blocking you, what is motivating you, but then also guided by the quote by Bell Hooks, what we cannot imagine cannot come into being. So if you can't see the future for yourself, if you can't see what you're going to look like on the other side of this sacrifice, are you going to choose chronic sacrifice and continue doing what you've been doing every single day as your current reality? Or are you going to confront the motivators? Are you going to rename what they are and make a decision to just simply start? No longer having that perfection paralysis to kind of hold you, as well as the distractions to kind of hold you. So it's like, be secure in your authority, be secure in what it is that you know, be secure in understanding that how you show up with your clear intention, then you will be able to execute unapologetically. And if there's anything that I can do to help you get into that position, to help you infuse that GPS system, feel free to rock out with me at workwithmarymay.com, where you can get a free case study, but you also get direct access to my calendar for a strategy session to understand what are your roadblocks, where are you vulnerable, how is it that you can show up unapologetically different. And when you're ready for that breakthrough chat, if you go to workwithmarymay.com, it'll definitely guide you through. Or you can go directly to my calendar and say, okay, you know what, I just really want to get set up today. And that's at the website that's on the screen now, the go.onehub.com/Mary1, for those who are not on the stream that I'm facing that has it on the screen. You can go to either of those and we can set up a time that's going to work best for you and work best for your strategy of leveling up. So until next Tuesday with the Leadership Nuggets, I look forward to supporting you and look forward to our communication. So in the meanwhile, you take care, you stay safe out here in these streets, and I look forward to serving you then. In the meanwhile, stay well. Talk to you soon.